Hidden disease machine learning detection. Hidden disease affect people, and yet they are uncatered for in the community. Most of these people don't know whether they have the they have the hidden diseases or not. Hidden diseases is more common. Hidden disease is more common in women than in men. What are hidden diseases? These are diseases which affect the kidney, and this prevents the full functioning of the kidney in the body. We know that the use of the kidneys to filter the impurities from the blood, controlling the blood pH, controlling the pH of the salts and potassium in the body. But once your kidney is affected or having some issues in terms of its health, these impurities will remain in the blood, and this will cause you some, because while the patient some pain during urination and back pain. Why it matters to the community to solve the problem of kidney diseases. The project is going to bring awareness to the to renal diseases among the people. Renal diseases, I'm talking about the diseases which affect the kidney. The kidney, we know that the kidney are a very essential part of the body. They filter waste, excess water, and other impurities. And if your kidney is not functioning well, all these impurities are going to remain in your blood, and this will affect your immune system, mainly for those unbeared age. In addition, also the system will give the patient some advice on how to prevent most of these kidneys, thus reducing the number of people who will be affected when they don't know, and also controlling those affected in the public when they are unaware. How artificial intelligence shall be used in solving the problem. The user will be required to enter a description of a disease he or she is feeling he has. The system will connect this submitted data or with the one, the system will connect this submitted data with the one in the database. If it matches any disease in the database, then the system will detect the disease according to a specific information and symptoms declared by the user. And the functionality of this system is going to be determined or classified by the content from the user. If the user enters a given information which is matching one of the diseases in our database, the system will automatically conclude with a specific number of items being considered. Our system is going to mainly use text data. Here, the user shall be required to describe fully the kind of disease he or she is being affected with at the moment. If the user submits this information, the system will compare it with the one in the database, and the system will be able to detect the disease. However, it's for some cases they will be directing this user to some blood tests and urine tests in order to confirm a given problem. The difference between supervised and unsupervised learning. To give the difference, we are going to must get into more with supervised and unsupervised learning. Supervised learning is defined by its use of report datasets. These datasets are designed to learn or supervise the algorithm into classifying data or producing outcomes accurately, meaning that for supervised learning to be used, the user should be knowing the input and expected output. They use that labeled datasets. For unsupervised learning analyzes and cluster unlabeled dataset, means that for it uses unlabeled datasets to make a comparison. This algorithm discover hidden patterns in data without need for human intervention. That's why it's called unsupervised learning. Then the main difference is supervised learning Uses labeled input and output data. For unsupervised, it uses unlabeled data sets. For complexity, supervised learning is simple method to use and to implement than unsupervised learning tool for with and you need a powerful tool for working with large amount of unclassified data. The goal is to in supervised, the goal is to predict outcomes for a new data. In unsupervised, the goal is to get an insight, just to get a relation of the data being searched for in order to give the outcome. The two supervised learning techniques and how they can be used in the technique. There are two. The two is classification and regression. Classification is used to identify the category of observations of basic of training data. Classification is used as an algorithm to accurately assign tested data into specific classes, such as separating as symptoms from effects caused by the disease in the system. How it will work when the user enter data such as symptoms, description, and other text into the the system will determine a category. The algorithm studies the information on the database for it. For each category, it creates a model based on what it learned that represents the information in that category. It then applies this model to new symptoms to decide which disease they belong to from those in the database. Regression. Regression is another type of supervised learning method. It uses an algorithm to understand the relationship between dependent and independent variables. For example, it looks for the relationship between if there is a disease and a symptom, it looks if you know the symptom, you can get the disease. For example, if you know the symptom, then it can deduct for you the disease. It's like getting to know the relationship between X and the Y. If you know the value of X, you can easily deduct the value of Y. That's all about regression. Then unsupervised learning techniques include clustering and association. Clustering is an unsupervised learning technique which group unlabeled data points based on their similarities and differences. Since points are grouped into cluster in such a way that those in the same group have the same similarity with each other. This main clustering can be used mainly when the user is searching for something in the database in the from the system. It inputs all the necessary information, but the system will organize in relation to what it has learned from the data, from the entered data. When the user enters data into the system, clustering algorithm receives the entered data unlabeled data as inputs and identifying cluster or patterns of information, which is then compared to the data. The database to estimate the kind of disease affecting the user. Then you have the association, the type of unsupervised learning technique which checks for the dependence of one data item on the other data item and the map according so that it can be more profitable in such a way that let me say you have a symptom and also a disease over the effect and the disease. If you input some effects in the system will look for the relationship between that effect and the disease to deduct the disease. Challenges to be challenges to be faced during my kidney disease project is utilize innovative way of data annotation. That is, find a high quality data for high quality medical data is another major problem in implementing an AI for health sector. The sensitive nature and the ethical constraints attached to medical data make it difficult to collect. It's difficult for someone to type all the necessary information so that the system can deduct the disease, introducing bias into decisions and data security. Since artificial intelligence heavily rely on data for its prediction and decision to protect data from theft and manipulation. Remember, the data got from the patient should be private between the patient and his doctor. Now our system is going to act as the doctor, meaning that, and it is very difficult to be sufficient sure that the system won't be hacked at any time for this data to be kept in, in from the public or from other people. Then solution to the challenges. Data security issue can be solved using enterprise cloud solutions. The bus algorithm can be collected in a number of ways, having multiple algorithms in the assembled that can cancel each other's error and biases and produces a more accurate prediction. Then the system, the user should be recommended to give more information and collect information about the disease he or she is being affected with. Differences between accuracy, recall, and precision and F1 score. The accuracy, recall, precision, and F1 score are the most example matrices in artificial intelligence. Matrices are used to monitor and measure the performance of a model, especially during training and testing. Accuracy tells the user how many times the machine learning is correct overall. This is the number of prediction divided by total number of prediction. However, this can be explained more using the confusion matrix. Precision is how good the model is at predicting a specific category of true or false values depending on the data. Recall tells you how many times the model was able to detect a specific category of value depending on the data set. Then F1 score is a combination of is the alternative of precise and recall. That's the meaning of harmonic meaning of precise and recall, meaning harmonic is an alternative of metrics of more common arithmetic. It is often more used in determining computing an average of the precise and recall. The most appropriate for my system to be accuracy and precision. The simplest way to calculate the accuracy of any classifying machine learning model is to calculate the simple accuracy using the number of collected classified data pointers and over the total number of. Let me take, for example, if you are going to call, if the patient comes in the hospital and that patient is going to be, detected with the chronic disease, that the test will be positive if that patient actually has that chronic disease, and the test will be negative if that patient doesn't have the chronic disease. If that patient